Hi, everybody. This is Chris with Invest LYH, and today I have a very special guest. It's Bethany York Rudzik, and she is out of Western Massachusetts, which is where I know Bethany from. And she is going to talk to us a little bit about listings. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen to kind of go over the question that I'm going to ask Bethany, and then we're going to discuss it. Give me just a moment while I share. All right. So Bethany, I just wanted to say thank you for coming on Invest LYH. And I know that you had sent me some listing information from Hampden County. Do you want to just kind of introduce yourself to anybody who's watching?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for inviting me on. So my name is Bethany. I'm with Real Broker. I'm licensed in Massachusetts and Connecticut. I have a primary focus on Hampden County, which is, if you know Massachusetts at all, it's Western Mass, Springfield-based area. So that's what we're focusing on today.
Perfect. And then the question that I wanted to ask Bethany, and you guys can see it on the top left here, where, or I didn't even put it up there, but is the market normalizing? Well, we hear a lot of questions about rising listings, and I just wanted to reach out to some agents that I know. As many of you know, I've traveled around, and I know a lot of agents everywhere. So I just kind of want to see how does that compare to the Lynchburg market, and just see if we're seeing normalcy in any places. So Bethany, is your market normal?
I wish it was normal. We're definitely seeing a supply demand issue, as much of the country is, but we seem to be hyper focused on supply and demand, especially for first time home buyers, entry level buyers, maybe buying a second home in their future there. But a lot of multiple offers, a lot of highest and best we're seeing here, extremely competitive.
Perfect. And the reason why I asked that is because in economics and in statistics, there is a sense of what we call normal distribution. And what I want to do now is I'm going to just kind of go through some of the statistics that Bethany sent me on the Hampden County market. And what I think I asked here, like, what is normal? And one thing about normalcy is what we call a normal distribution. And I'm going to just kind of open this up a little bit. And what we do here now, in order for me to make this graph, I had to put in some numbers. But in general, what we see in a normal distribution is directly in the middle is what we have is the median. Usually we have the median and the mean is there. And this is why when we look at prices, a lot of times we look at median home sold price because we're trying to distinguish in the market where 50% are above and where 50% are below. So, Beth, you guys heard Bethany say that there is some hyper focus on first time and entry level buyers. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a look at the statistics that Bethany gave me for the Hampden County single family home market. And what we found is that we have the cheapest is 79,000. And that market goes all the way up to 2.9 million. So what we should see in that, if it's a relatively normal market, is the curve kind of go like that. And right in the middle, pardon my curve, it's got a little bit of a skew, but right in the middle should be this 339K, meaning that 50% of the homes are on the left and 50% are on the right. So let's see what we found. When I look at it here, I kind of converted this over and we can see that the lowest home we do have is 79K. Then it goes up and then it kind of hits. Now, here is the interesting part. It does come back down and it has a very long tail, and that's the 2.9 million. I think there was maybe two or three more homes that were over a million. I'd have to double check the statistics. But what that means is that the normalcy of the market is kind of right there. But we have a few listings that are just kind of pulling the tails outward, and that's okay. But what we're seeing here is that if we look at the total number of homes, oh, that's the wrong list. Sorry. If we're looking at the list number, the total number of listings here, we have 57 at 25. We have 115 at 50. We have 169 at the 75% mark. And then we have the highest is the 226. So this encompasses from listing 1 to 226. And what we are seeing is that it looks a little normal from the market that we're looking at now. Now, let's go back real quick to Bethany's point about the focus on entry level and first time home buyers. We've talked about this on the channel before, that there is a pathway that home buyers have. Generally, you buy an entry level home and then you move up, and then you move up, and then you move up. And then if you're lucky, you get into the luxury market. Now, if I were to take away one of these and just divide it up into 4, similar to what we have above, we would have entry level, move up 1, move up 2, and luxury. And what I think you're seeing, Bethany, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that at least this market is on fire, where these markets up here are kind of sitting, or maybe just kind of building those days on market.
I tend to agree with you. The first two are definitely where most of the action is. That's where we're seeing those multiple offers and very aggressive offers, to be quite honest with you. And we're also
Yeah,
seeing people who are in maybe the second tier. They're ready to downsize now, so they're also putting pressure back on those entry level, smaller, maybe ranch homes, for example. So it's kind of creating even more pressure and even more demand on that first segment. And if they're not getting it, it's causing them to not move from the other segment.
perfect. So if you guys saw what Bethany said, is she said, first of all, she said that these two markets are going up. But she also said that the move up to buyer, they are looking to downsize. So what does that do from an economic perspective? If we know the entry level market has a supply and demand function, and we know that the move up to buyer has a supply and demand function, they are trying to sell their home, which would be adding supply, which puts downward pressure on that price. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to sell at that price, but that is what the statistics show, what the economics show. But now they're also adding to the demand on this side, which is putting upward pressure on price here. This is phenomenal understanding of real-time economics in the housing market for Hampden County. And it is some insight that I just wanted to bring somebody on who is seeing these things on the ground, to show you guys how these economics actually play out in the real world. This is phenomenal, Bethany. I really appreciate that you came on. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now. Give me a second. Because the thing about Invest LYH is I often go through the real estate behind, or the economics behind the real estate. But sometimes, because I do not buy and sell as an agent, I do not have access to this type of data. So I really appreciate you coming on and being able to share your story and being able to listen to me. I appreciate that. Um, but yeah, it's very insightful. Do you have anything else that you wanted to tell anybody out there about your market?
I find something else that's interesting as we're seeing what's driving prices up is a lot of people have cash. So the people that have cash that are adding to this market, they don't necessarily get an appraisal. And we're actually seeing most people not getting appraisal. So it's really driving that price up so they can actually purchase the home for what more than it would have been valued at with an appraisal. So that's really driving this market that we're seeing here for sure.
That's very interesting. And I know that for the investment teams that I work with, A lot of them, they use debt financing. So it's just interesting to hear that if a cash buyer comes into a situation, they don't have the metrics that an investment team would have.
Mhm.
They're
Right.
not worried about the debt financing, and they're also probably not worried about going 20 or $30,000 over the price that the investor is only going up to.
Correct, correct. I mean, definitely being an investor myself, working with investors and working with people that are, buying a home to live in, totally different metrices, like you said. Whereas they're going to be living in the home, so they're willing to spend more just to get the house. So
Right.
it is a little bit of a tighter market for the investors out here for sure.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Do you want to give some people your information on how they can contact you?
Yeah, I would appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me. First of all, I really, really had a great time. But again, my name is Bethany. I'm with Real Broker. I'm licensed in Massachusetts and Connecticut. And I'll give you actually my email is probably the easiest way. So my email is byorkrudzik@gmail.com. Reach out to me with any questions you may have. And thanks for hosting me.
For sure. And I'll put that information below on the video so that you guys, if you have questions about the Hampden County market, you can reach out to Bethany. But I would trust her with my life. I've talked to her several times over the last few years about different things when we were going through things with my family, and she's always given me sound advice. So thanks for coming on, Bethany.
Thanks for having me.